What's up, family, and welcome back to the channel. Today, I have some notes that I want to speak to and speak from. Um, I get quite a bit of messages, whether in my inbox or Facebook or Patreon or Discord, of people, or in the comments of people who are saying that this content is helping them and that they're in. Many of them are in deconstruction, mid deconstruction, at the end of their deconstruction, just started deconstruction. And I realized that as much as my content is helpful for that, I've never actually talked about people who are deconstructing and shared any information that might be helpful for them. And so today, that's what I want to do with this video. So before we jump into this, you kind of know the routine. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that alert notification bell. Consider supporting, connecting, or joining this community in any way that makes sense to you. And of course, check out our merch because it's dope. Yeah. And then also we have books that are on Amazon. Okay, so let's jump into this conversation. So deconstructing one's religious belief is a deeply personal and often challenging journey. It involves critically examining and reassessing long-held doctrines, traditions, and practices. This process is not a sign of rebellion or evil, but rather a courageous and sincere attempt to make sense of one's faith. Deconstruction represents an honest relationship with religion, rooted in the desire for authenticity and understanding. As a matter of fact, I'll go as far as to say that the thought that kind of encouraged this video was something that I had wrote in my notes after responding to a message. And that was that deconstruction is the only sincere relationship you can have with any religion, especially when you think about the amount of time that has existed, the amount of time that has transpired since the religion originated and where the religion is today. If you have a realistic understanding of the world, then you'd understand that what you have access to today is likely not the most accurate reflection or representation of the faith that you hold dear. And so deconstruction would be that process of trying to be as accurate as you can with your faith, which is an honorable process. It is a process of my three A's: agency, autonomy, and in this case, the most important one, authenticity. So this conversation serves as a compassionate reminder for those navigating the complexities of deconstruction. It affirms that questioning and reevaluating beliefs is a natural and healthy part of personal growth. By embracing this journey, individuals honor their commitment to truth and cultivate a more profound, genuine connection with the world around them. So let's we're going to take this conversation through phases, and I want to start with understanding deconstruction in religion. Deconstruction ultimately involves analyzing and breaking down religious beliefs to understand their origins, their meanings, and their larger implications. It's a process aimed at stripping away inherited doctrines that may not resonate with one's personal experiences or understanding. But most importantly, deconstruction is not about destroying faith. In many cases, those who are on this journey are trying to redefine and rebuild their faith on a foundation of personal conviction and understanding. To understand the context of deconstruction, we have to recognize how culture, society, and upbringing shape religious beliefs. And this is often the tipping point for many people, is coming into that recognition, having that realization that, okay, my belief system has not just been impacted by this personal religious experience. My belief system has been impacted by culture, society, and my upbringing, my family, my community. And many times those who are deconstructing, begin to wonder just how much of my faith is based on reality and how much of it is based on this external shaping. There are also life events, or exposure to diverse perspectives, and even just the advent of personal growth can often prompt reevaluation. You've ever been that person praying for an answer for something that was truly important, something that wasn't superficial, wasn't shallow. It was something that was desperately important. And you had been living the life, doing everything you were supposed to, and then you didn't get those answers. For some, that's a prompt to figure out, okay, what am I doing wrong? I'm living the life. I'm praying. I'm paying my tithes and my offerings. I'm coming to church every Sunday and Wednesday. I'm here for the small groups. I'm here for the worship practice. I'm here for the prayer meeting. I'm abstaining. I'm keeping my body and my temple pure. I ain't got no tattoos. I'm not smoking and drinking. I'm not sleeping with nobody. Not sucking and fucking and none of that. And so, what am I doing wrong? Why? And so, contrary to the way this imagery normally gets presented, it's like a person prays and they don't get what they want and they just stop believing. It's often not the case. Otherwise, many of you would have already stopped believing. What typically happens is not just that the person prayed and didn't get what they wanted. After that, they tried harder. After that, they tried to figure it out. After that, they tried to figure out, well, perhaps maybe I have a misunderstanding of how God operates. And then they begin to wonder, well, where does that misunderstanding come from? Does that misunderstanding come from my pastor's theology, my personal theology? Or is it a misunderstanding rooted in biblical theology altogether? Okay. And so then, of course, there's an intellectual engagement piece here where this kind of encourages an engagement with theology, philosophy, and other disciplines to deepen understanding. And that's almost like, to me, that's always the green flag that someone is really going down that path of deconstruction, is they start with, just some very honest questions about their personal experience and their personal understanding. And then they become a student of their religion. And then that's just like the most beautiful thing in the world. All right. So perhaps the biggest point of this video is to drive home that deconstruction is a good faith relationship with religion. It shows a sincerity in seeking truth, because deconstruction typically arises from a genuine desire to seek truth and understand your own faith deeply. And it reflects an active and engaged relationship with religion rather than a passive acceptance. And that's the other side of that coin, which is why I often tell people, when people ask, when did you start deconstructing? And I'm just like, well, the entire experience for me was deconstruction. From the time I started believing to the day that I stopped believing, I was deconstructing my faith, because I refused to have a passive acceptance of just what others said. As the old folks say, I wanted to know him for myself. And so, because I was so intensely engaged in that manner, obviously not enough because it still took me 2 decades, the whole process was me wrestling with what was worthy of believing and what was not. And so literally every year, something was changing and being transformed about my belief system. And I think the more open conversations we have, we'll find out just how common deconstruction is. The biggest problem for most is that they just never see the door marked exit, because there's just not enough people having that particular conversation. A lot of the people who are deconstructing. Well, I was going to say a lot of people who are deconstructing and kind of don't know that's what they're doing go into like the most revivalist type territories, and there are a lot of them there. Um, the reason they feel free in those territories is because there are no restrictions or dogmatic restrictions typically about who God is, and those are all just feel good services, which you could replace God with any, or you can replace Jesus with any Middle Eastern religious leader. East, what is that? What do they call it? Eastern religions. Yeah, with any Eastern religion type of religious leader, and it could be the same thing because it's just a woo fest, very woo woo woo. But then also there are quite a people who deconstruct who go to the majorly reformed churches, and that's partly because they enjoy the philosophical discussion around the religious leaders and those who formed the religion, those who have formulated the opinions that have become creeds. And so they enjoy that type of conversation. So you really, it's a mixed bag there. But the big point is there's likely a lot more people deconstructing than we think. They just haven't seen the exit door yet, or they've seen it and don't quite know that it's an acceptable route, because not enough people are having conversations, I feel, around deconstruction as a healthy journey. um, More people are telling their deconstruction stories for sure, but as far as having conversations around the health of deconstructions, the only people who seem to be having those conversations are the believers. And their conversations are obviously talking the opposite talk, talking about how dangerous deconstruction is, or trying to reframe deconstruction as, something that's other than what it is. And in those cases, what they're trying to do is block the exit door. They're trying to make sure that people don't see the exit ramp, you know, that people zig when they can zag. But and that's really why one of the things that I want to share this, because deconstruction is a good faith relationship with religion. You're upholding your personal integrity by aligning or by seeking to align your beliefs with your personal values and your realistic engagement with the world around you. This is how you enhance your understanding and ultimately enhance the utility of your understanding. And I think that's just one of the biggest, to me, that's one of the biggest disappointments about religion, is that it gives you an understanding of the world that has absolutely no utility. Can't use it. Don't work right. You understand? So, a good way to describe deconstruction is a faith that is seeking understanding. Um, Many religious figures and theologians have questioned and redefined their beliefs through history. That's literally how beliefs work. Um, and I mean, that's the thing. Like, if you're not questioning and redefining your beliefs, then you don't have beliefs. You have instructions to follow, and that's just a yikes. Um, but you have to understand that at some point that faith is not static, but it evolves over time through that process of questioning and learning. Which is why the people who end up on this deconstruction journey were people who were trying to be good students of their religion. But of course, at the end of the day, this journey embraces the idea that understanding can deepen through challenges and doubts. And to be honest, faith is simply a poor substitute for understanding. So, to quote an old dusty book, and all you're getting, get understanding. See what I did there? All right. So, Um, deconstruction also shows a respect for that which you hold sacred, or respect for what you hold to be true. It's valuing depth over dogma, which prioritizes meaningful connection over strict adherence to doctrine. And again, this is why I say I was kind of deconstructing the whole time. adherence to doctrine made no sense to me if I couldn't verify that the doctrine was accurate, and divinely distributed. I didn't see that. So I wanted to do the work of having a deep and meaningful relationship with my God, and the scriptures that reflected him. Um, it's about seeking a more profound personal relationship with that thing that you consider divine, or the sacred aspects of religion, or ultimately, because we all think it's true, it's your desire for a more profound relationship with the truth. you know that was a major conversation I was having with myself when I was officially deconverting. It's just like, if there is a God, and this God is synonymous with love and synonymous with truth, then there is no way that this God could be offended by your pursuit of truth. And anybody who would display that God, or represent that God as being offended by your pursuit of truth, has already wrestled with and come to the conclusion that this God is not a representation of truth. That's just how I think through things. I get it. I don't think through things the way that other people do, but it makes sense to me. So again, deconstruction is a sign of an honest relationship with your religion. It's a sign of an honest relationship with your beliefs, and a sign of someone who's trying to have an authentic relationship with the world around them. And wherever you are on that journey, I applaud you. And we're building community that supports people like you. You know, I think some people think that the community we're building only supports atheists. No, the community we're building supports people. We just have the protection of no superstition involved, so that people can always be the priority. Damn, that was good. All right. So, some things that I want you to understand here is that it takes bravery to confront uncertainties and ask difficult questions about your faith. Admitting your doubts is a vulnerable but a very honest act. And it shows that you prioritize truth over societal or communal pressures to conform, which, again, for those of us who were trying to have an honest relationship with our religion, that was the whole point, to prioritize truth over misunderstandings, to prioritize truth over misinterpretations, to prioritize truth over mistranslations, and to prioritize truth over misrepresentations. You know, this is how you get a Christianity that evolves from supporting, promoting, and defending slavery to a Christianity that eventually stands up against it. You get that by prioritizing truth. It's authenticity over conformity. Um, Deconstruction requires intellectual honesty and evidences intellectual honesty in a lot of ways, because you have to apply reasoning and critical analysis to understand your beliefs more fully. You have to be willing to address inconsistencies between beliefs and personal values or knowledge, which means you're having to do the work to highlight those cognitive dissonances. And again, it's a commitment to continual growth and learning within the scope at first of that spiritual journey, which eventually for most just ends up becoming a human journey. And what I find is that for those who find a more robust worldview on that other side, for them, what they used to term as spiritual, those things don't fade away. Those experiences are not gone. They now just recognize those experiences as human. Man, yeah. That's what I think. So this is, and it's also emotional honesty, right? And like, oh my, how healthy is that? That's probably another one of the big damaging points of of some of our former religious persuasions is the lack of emotional honesty we were able to have with ourselves. Couldn't be mad about certain things, couldn't be frustrated. But allowing space for feelings such as confusion, frustration, or grief, these things often help with the deconstruction process because you finally get to feel human. This allows you to give yourself quite a bit of self-compassion, to treat yourself with kindness during the challenging process of reevaluation. And we're trying to create this space where more have the option to seek support. Because I think we're all recognizing the value of community and support systems during times of such personal transitions. And again, that's why the bridge in Bridge City Global exists. So just to hit some of the stigmas around this deconstruction, um, deconstruction is not a rejection of faith. I think that's a good place to start because most people who start the journey of deconstruction, their goal is not to walk away from the faith. So deconstruction is often misunderstood as abandoning the faith entirely, which is just not always the case. But what many find on the other side of deconstruction is a well-informed worldview and a more robust consideration for others, which I don't know about you, but that was kind of the goal all along for me, to be right, to be well, and to be helpful. And so while, yes, I am adamantly, vehemently, violently even not a Christian, because I don't feel like Christian values represent my values in the world. I am one of those people who do not believe that Jesus had great teachings because I've studied them. Jesus taught supremacy. Jesus taught separatism. Jesus embraced people living in poverty, giving away their money to him. Yeah. He's a mega church pastor. Jesus is a mega church. How do you not see that? How do you not see that? If Jesus was alive today, he'd be a mega church pastor because he's technically the first mega church pastor. You got to have 5,000 members to feed 5,000. Hello. Okay. Sorry. But yeah. And yes, the questioning may lead to ostracization from people who are still in those belief systems. But I've learned not to run from that. A lot of times we don't ask questions because we don't want people to show us who they are. I want to know exactly who people are. And if I have important questions about my spiritual life, my religious life, my relationship with the divine, and if me having those questions is so offensive to you that you feel the need to disconnect, then do it. Do it now. Show yourself. Reveal who you are. I want to see the man behind the curtain. So then I can show you the exit door. And it's just a beautiful place to be in life. Where I don't need to be tiptoeing around you to pretend that you're not the ugly person that you are. If you are that type of person, just go ahead and show yourself, And so, yes, it may lead to some ostracization. That's ostracism. That word, some disenfranchisement. All right, some marginalization. It may lead to some of that. I can't say that it won't, but I can say that we're building community for that reason. And if it does, please feel free to reach out and to get connected because you don't have to go through this alone. And just take comfort in the fact that true faithfulness includes honesty and the pursuit of truth. So I want to, again, I want to push this aspect of finding those supportive environments. And again, Bridge City, our Discord, this channel is a great place to find some of that. But I want to also reframe deconstruction to help you understand that deconstruction is an essential part of personal maturation. I almost said personal masturbation, and maybe it's some of that too. Is there anything other than personal masturbation? Okay. That's a rabbit we don't need to chase for this conversation. But that's the freedom of deconversion. And, you can deal with all the rabbits in your head without having to feel like any of them are demons. Now, these are just all my thoughts. That wasn't Satan trying to, you see how Satan tried to sneak in there and throw a penis in your serious conversation? Nope, the conversation can still be serious even if there's mention of masturbation in it. I know you're laughing. It's okay. But laughing is serious too. Why so serious? You see what I did there? Okay. All right. And then recognize that for some, deconstruction does lead to a more robust, resilient, and many times more realistic faith. And that is the point. There are people who are still believers in some sense of the word, but have now removed a great bit of superstition, misunderstanding, and misrepresentation from their belief system, which, while not being willing or while not feeling comfortable or even feeling the need to identify as atheist or agnostic or anything like that, they absolutely do identify as humanist and have managed to build a balance of keeping the things that some of the rest of us might identify as bullshit to themselves. Which, I mean, let's to be honest here. I'm not saying that to be derogatory. We all got some bullshit. I got bullshit that I keep to myself, because that's how bullshit should work. You know, if you have, if you have some speculative beliefs about the world, which I have many, man, I have many. I'm a fiction author, so it serves me. But I have many speculative beliefs, and that's fine for me to have. It only becomes problematic once I start trying to reframe the world according to those beliefs or try to force others to adhere to those beliefs. But because I understand that these beliefs are speculative, which is really hard to call them beliefs in that sense, they're just speculations. Because, in my opinion, beliefs need to be justified. That's just me, though, and a few dictionaries. All right. But yeah, and and honestly, it's really about emphasizing that personal agency in one's own life. I know for me, that was the end point of my deconstruction, which was finally my deconversion. But I'm still deconstructing other things, right? Deconstruction isn't just something you do with your religion. I've been deconstructing my culture. I've been deconstructing my ideas of race. I've been deconstructing my ideas of politics. I've been deconstructing my sociological identity with the world around me, because it's all about, for me, this is just me. I don't want to live in anybody else's box. I don't, especially if I don't have to. And that was the biggest point of my deconversion, was realizing that, oh shit, this box that I've been so afraid to get out of, it's like the cave. It's like Plato's cave. Nothing in this bitch is real. Everything in here is an illusion. And I am missing out on a very real world out there. One that is filled with both beauty and horror. But I don't want to miss it. I want to have a realistic understanding of the world that I'm living in so that I can experience it fully and navigate it properly, or accurately is probably a better word there. Because somebody's going to say, proper, no, that's this. And I'm like, oh my goodness, people. Let's get up from the children's table, please. Please. Or maybe we need to sit down at the children's table. Okay. That's a whole nother rabbit. All right. So For those of you who are around people who are deconstructing, whether you're a believer or a non-believer, I have some advice for you. First, active listening. Offer a non-judgmental and non-encroaching ear to those expressing doubts or questions. So again, if you know someone who's deconstructing, we just talked about trust issues. We just wrapped up our conversation of trust issues this past Sunday in this past Sunday sessions, and actually it was yeah. And the week before that, in because it was 4 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, something like that. But anyway, we came to this idea of that trust is not about building a trustful relationship with people is not always about being right. It's about being there. Trust doesn't always say I'm right. Trust says I'm here, you know? And so, and when someone's going through a very personal transition in their life, they don't need you to be their voice of truth. They just need you to be a source of trust, you know? So just be there as they're kind of having their questions and having their doubts. Don't you try to navigate them and tell them which way they should go. And that's for non-believers and believers alike. Respect their autonomy, you know, validate their emotions and experiences that accompany deconstruction, even if you don't understand them, and refrain from labeling or stigmatizing those who are questioning. And that's even if you're trying to help, you know, because non-believers are doing, oh, you're an atheist, man. You know, you just ain't saying it yet. Or you're an agnostic, man. You know, like you're not helping anyone by telling them which labels they should use. Give them the freedom to name themselves. And then, of course, you can provide resources. You can suggest books, articles, or talks that explore faith from various perspectives. You can help them connect with others by facilitating connections with communities or groups where people are undergoing similar journeys. And you have groups like Bridge and Bridge City Global. That's ours. But you also have stuff like Recovering from Religion. You have Sunday Assembly. You have Houston Oasis. There is a plethora of us out here. You have the atheist community of Austin. Community is popping up everywhere. And I'm kind of making it my thing to make sure that this thing accelerates. And then also encourage self-care, because that's a big thing, right? And, you know, promote practices that support mental and emotional health. I almost said, you know, like, hey, you know, just if you know somebody that's going through deconstruction, just randomly ask, hey, man, you want to meditate? Because I know you processing a lot right now, but no, seriously. And you can encourage meditation, journaling, or other reflective practices. And also help you. A good thing to help them do is to support the establishment of boundaries so that they can protect their well-being while going through this process. So if you know that they're dealing with really toxic family members, friends, or church leaders who are going to make this process a living hell for them, those are some really good conversations you can have with them about, especially if you've been through the process. And maybe, again, even if you're a believer and you just care about them, you can start helping them have that conversation about how and why to set boundaries. And, you know, so if you're on the journey of deconstruction, embrace it. Accept that not all questions have immediate or clear answers. Recognize that beliefs may and should continue to evolve over time, and cultivate contentment with the journey rather than focusing solely on the destination. You don't really have to trap your mind into where is this going to end up? Am I going to end up an atheist? Am I going to end up a believer? Because if you get too trapped there, you may start leaning towards a bias, and that just kind of poisons the whole process to me. Take this journey, continue your journey in good faith and in truth. Your goal is not to become an atheist or an agnostic or a humanist. Your goal is not to remain whatever religion you are. Your goal is to believe those things which are true. And leave it there. A few things I'd encourage you to do is start building your own personal philosophy of reality. As you're deconstructing, start reconstructing beliefs that resonate personally with you and authentically. Combine new understandings with valuable aspects of some of your previous beliefs, and be open to wisdom from various traditions and perspectives. Recognize and celebrate your milestones in the journey, and as you're kind of navigating, share your story to others as a source of encouragement and insight. And just throughout the entire process, maintain that posture of curiosity and openness, and then keep that same energy throughout life. I think it'll serve your best interest. Deconstruction is a profound expression of an honest and authentic relationship with your faith. It's a journey marked by courage, integrity, and a deep commitment to seeking truth. Those who embark on this path are not only justified in their exploration, but are also participating in a time-honored tradition of personal inquiry. By embracing deconstruction with compassion and openness, individuals honor their inner convictions and contribute to a more thoughtful and empathetic spiritual community. This process is not a departure from faith, but a movement toward a more genuine, meaningful connection with the truth. Remember, you are not alone, and your journey toward understanding is a testament to your sincerity and dedication. It is not an act of evil, but a courageous step toward living a life aligned with the truth. You are courageous for seeking authenticity in your life. Your questions are valid, and exploring them is a sign of strength. You deserve an understanding of the world that resonates with your true self and experiences. And you are not alone. Many have walked this path and found fulfillment, and your journey matters. And it continues to contribute to a richer, more compassionate world. Feel free to reach out for support, connect with others on similar paths, and continue embracing your journey with kindness, integrity, and honesty. And I think we'll all be better for it. I hope I've said something today that is, got those wheels turning up there. I hope I've said something today that has inspired somebody, encouraged somebody, motivated somebody. And I'm hoping that we're creating somewhat a movement. Yeah, creating a movement around making it easier for people to deconstruct without pressure from us saying, all right, now, if you're on this path, you're only going to get support from us if you end up here. That's just too much like that. That's too much like the stuff we left behind. I hope my desire at the end of the day is that we're building a more humanist worldview or a more people-centric worldview until we know better than that. Because eventually we will. That's what growth and social evolution looks like. All right, thank you for hanging out with me today. If you haven't already, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that alert notification bell, and consider joining, connecting, or supporting this community channel or content in whatever way makes sense for you. And then check out the merch because it is dope as fuck. Like, it's, as the kids used to say maybe 10 years ago, it's on fleek. I don't know what they say today. Oh, Kyle said it's clutch. So I don't know. I don't know these words. I'm an old man. Get off my lawn. All right. Thank y'all so much for hanging out with me. Until next time, keep rising, stay progressive, and stay beautiful. Only if you can. I'll holla.